So I drove with nerve pain, didn't shower for weeks, and nearly took someone's head off, and it reached 100 degrees in the car at camp. Hi there, welcome to my channel. I'm Wandering Ananda, and this is the story of my journey car camping with my cat in one of the smallest SUVs ever made, a 2000 Toyota RAV4, which is smaller than the newer model. The next morning, I nearly took somebody's head off for approaching my open car door. I was still in pain and anxious about the maskless ranger coming up to my car every morning, that when a nice guy who approached my open door way too close asked about the forest pass, he was actually about to stick his head into my car, it seemed. But let's just say that I could have been a little bit more civil, but in my anxious and in pain state, I blurted out, "Stop, step back," which was effective, but it startled him. Anyway, I said goodbye to Oak Flat Campground and the hummingbird who graced us with a visit to our window every morning. And the morning drive through Ojai was nice. I was excited to finally get to go to Ojai, except for the winding climb to Rose Valley, which is the next campground that I went to. And my ear still ached. I still had a toothache and probably a fever. Upon the entry to Rose Valley, which is a dispersed camping site in the Los Padres National Forest, the road appeared flooded, but I used a stick to check what looked like a steel plate and decided that I could make it through, although it was still kind of a nail biter, but it looked pretty safe. I forgot to check and document it since I wasn't still yet in the habit of doing that and was dealing with pain issues, and I was also dealing with a cranky, impatient cat because we had been driving for a few hours. Rose Valley is a first-come, first-serve campground in the Los Padres National Forest. Like I said, there's a vault, toilet, and no cell service. It's a self-service fee area, and the ranger comes by often. I wasn't sure if there was a host. I think there might have been a host. On arrival to camp at noon, the car was 99 degrees or possibly more because my cheap digital thermometer doesn't go any higher. There was no shade or anything to do but to set up a tent and a tarp, and I didn't want to venture any further since I hadn't decided what to do about the dentist at this point. In pain, I just wanted to hunker down. But it remained hot in the car until about 7, so everything melted and my food went rancid, and there was no way I was going to test the fridge in that heat. With ample sun, the dirty solar panels weren't pulling in as much as they could, and I forgot to get window cleaner. I kept my cat cool-ish by wiping her down with water, which of course she hated, but it helped keep her cool, especially when she started panting. I also frequently offered her water. She's really hot. She hisses at me. Poor kitty. With nowhere else to go and in too much pain to think clearly, it just felt like another failure on my part. I felt like all I was doing was driving and getting supplies and trying to adapt to extreme weather with very little downtime. The sleepy desert and rainy forest felt like a distant past. I was sweaty, dirty, hot, in pain, and cranky, and I was tired of having to clean my constantly breaking fingernails several times a day. I hadn't had a proper shower in weeks. Thankfully, the pain eventually subsided because my basic health insurance doesn't cover the crown needed to cover a root canal. Besides, who wants a root canal ever? I realize I further delayed the end. I just want to be in a better position before dealing with that type of stuff, especially because of my cat. Without cell service, I couldn't plan my next camp or a dental visit. My emergency plan was to seek a dental clinic and board my cat in Ojai, which I expected to be spendy. Also, in Ojai, I could use the internet. Since none of that happened, I ended up staying in Rose Valley for a few nights to ride out the pain because I wanted to stay closest to my dentist in LA just in case, and was growing more irritable from the heat and the pain, since the Tylenol and anti-inflammatory herbs have their limits, but they did help. Despite its remote location, the campground was fairly active, particularly during the day with hikers, even though it was pretty hot. One night, a young couple set up their tent basically in my site for the night, and I could hear them talking most of the day, which was annoying since the guy kept cursing unnecessarily and the girl laughed every time she spoke, which was a lot. Other than that, the stay at Rose Valley overall was relatively peaceful despite the heat, which eventually lessened in intensity, as did the pain. And that next morning, I decided to leave. based off of my printed maps, the rough plan was to head to Figueroa Mountain, which is also in Los Padres National Forest. But I wasn't looking forward to the winding drive down the mountain, but at least it wasn't a gnarly forest road like last time. Join me next time when I search for a place to camp, a white-knuckle drive up a mountain, and see the ocean for the first time in years despite living in LA. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to follow me on this journey into the desert and beyond as I drive up the coast of California in my tiny SUV.